Hi Year 4, so today's lesson is going to be a reasoning and problem solving lesson. And so far this week you've learnt about ordering, writing and comparing decimals. So in this lesson we're going to recap what you've learnt so far and we're going to actually tackle some reasoning and problem solving questions together. So just before we start this, make sure you've got a pen and a piece of paper so you can take down notes and you can do some working out as we go along. We're going to start off with a nice and simple starter of counting in tenths. As you can see, there's a picture representation of how many tenths at the bottom, and we are going to write the decimal of those fractions at the top. And now we know they are counting in tenths. You can see at the beginning there is 0 tenths, and we actually end up with 10 tenths, which is also known as 1 whole. 10 tenths, which is also known as a whole. Do not need to worry about the fractions, we just need to fill in the decimals. So as you can see, we start at 0. What's going to be the next number on our number line? Yeah, 0.1. What's going to be next? 0.2. 0.3. Give you some time to finish. 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1, which you can also write as 1.0. We're going to recap the place value chart. Now we've got hundreds, we've got tens, we've got ones, we've got tenths, and we've got hundredths. We need to remember that the hundreds are bigger, they are a bigger place value than the hundredths. So for example, if a 6 was in this position and a 6 was in this position, this number has a bigger place value. You will see this place value chart throughout these slides, so you can always refer to them to check you are understanding the place value of each of the digits. Here's the first question. It says place the numbers in descending order. Now, descending order means that it's going from the biggest to the smallest. We have got the numbers 46.2. 9.64, 46.02 and 40.46. Now, I know that there's only one number here that has one digit before the decimal point. All of the rest of the numbers actually have 2. So, as you can see, there's a 4 and a 6 here, there's a 4 and a 6 here, there's a 4 and a 0 here. So we've got 46.2, 46.02 and 40.46. So I can already see that the numbers are all very different. If we're looking at the first numbers, 46.2 and 40.46 and 46.02, I can see they all have the same number in the tens. Then this number and this number is the same. Then if I look at the next place value, I can start to see that the biggest number will have to be this number, because if I'm comparing 46.2 and I'm comparing 46.02, I know that 46.2 is the biggest because it has the 2 in the tenths position. So I can start by saying 46.2 is the largest number. I then know 46.02 will be the second biggest. Then I've got 40.46. And then finally, I've got 9.64. as the smallest number. So as you can see, we are going from the biggest number down to the smallest number. Now here's a problem which you could actually do by yourself first, and then we can go through together. So if you have got a piece of paper, try to work this out. Place value chart here already for you. So first step is you need to find out what these place value charts are representing, which numbers they are representing. Pause the video here before we go over it together. Okay, so we need to write down the decimals represented in the place value grid and then place them in order. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure I write down the numbers for all of them. This first one, I've got 1 in the ones position, 0.32. So just mark that as right if you've got that. Then I've got 1.4. Well, I haven't got anything in the hundredths, so I can put a 0, but just know that you don't need to. You could also write it as 1.4. It means exactly the same thing. This one over here, there's nothing in the ones position, so we're going to put 0.13. And then finally, we've got 2.04. So like we did in the previous question, we've got to compare the place value positions. This time we are working in ascending order, which means we are going to go from the smallest to the biggest. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the first place value position. Now, if I'm going from the smallest to the biggest, I can already see the smallest number is going to be the number that starts with the 0, because this is a 1 over here, this is a 1 over here, this is a 2 over here. So this is the smallest place value that goes first, 0.13. I can cross that off so I don't get confused. Which one's going to come next? Well, it can't be 2. It can either be this one or this one. Now if I look, the first place value is the same, so I check the second place value after the decimal point. Which one is smaller? Is it 1.32 or 1.4? Well, it's going to be 1.32 because 3 is smaller than 4. Now I cross that off. What will come next? Well, I know this one starts with a 2, this one starts with a 1. It can only be 1.4. 1.4. And finally, that leaves us with the biggest number being 2.04. So we are going from the smallest to the biggest. We are going in ascending order. And if this were a test and I was writing this down, I would list my numbers by writing them like this: 0.13, 1.32, 1.4, 2.04. And there we go. This next question, we've got 4 different people that are saying 4 different things. Okay, we've got Teddy, Amir, Rosie and Eva. Teddy says my number has the same amount of tens as tenths. Amir says my number has 1 decimal place. Rosie says my number has 2 hundredths. And Eva says that my number has 6 tenths. Now I've put this place value chart here so you could have a go by yourself first. You've got a possible of 1, 2, 3, 4 answers at the top here that could match each one of those people. Have a go, pause the video, and then we'll go through it together. So let's look at what Teddy says first. He says, my number has the same amount of tens as tenths. So the tenths position is going to be the number, the digit, after the decimal point. So we've got, that's the tenths. This is the tenths. This is the tenths. This is the tenths. And then we've got the tens. Tens is the place value that is 2 places before the decimal point. So the tens is here. This one doesn't have any tens. The tens is here. And the tens is here. Now, which one of those numbers has the same number in the tens as it does in the tenths? Yep, it's this one. So Teddy's number is 40.46. So well done if you've got that. Next, my number has 1 decimal place. Okay, well that just means that there's 1 number after the decimal place. Well, here there's 1, here there's 2, here there's 2, here there's 2. So it can only be this one, 46.2. So well done if you've got that. Next one says, Rosie says, my number has 2 hundredths. So we need to look at not the place value after the decimal point, but the one afterwards. This doesn't have any hundredths. This has 4 hundredths. This has 2 hundredths. And this has 6 hundredths. So which one is it? It can only be this one, 46.02. Well done if you've got that. Finally, you could match the last one as the missing one, but I am going to explain it. My number has 6 tenths, Eva says. Now, the tenths is the position after the decimal point. And actually, there's only one number that has a 6 after the decimal point. So the answer for that one is 2.64. Well done if you have got all 4 correct. That is the end of your first maths lesson with me. I hope that you've learnt something, or it's just refreshed your memory, and I will see you next week. Make sure you are watching all the rest of the teacher's videos and pay attention to which task it is we would like you to complete and send in. Well done.